All right, you guys, Coach Jeff here. I'm excited to share with you this week's MET, or Movement Enhancement Technique, stretching, mobility, all those types of things. Foam rolling, corrective exercise. All right, they all fall under that. So, improving range of motion using the RBT band. I've been using this for a long time and it works. And for some of you, you know this and it's a review, so just watch the video and maybe you'll get some more things out of it. Okay, so as always, we're going to start with 3D breathing, three-dimensional breathing. Probably wouldn't hurt to do some foam rolling and stuff like that, especially if you're abnormally tight. Maybe you did a workout and you're really tight, or went for a long hike and you're tight, or whatever. Just if you got more tightness than normal, probably some myofascial work would be good to do before you stretch, but you don't have to. Anyway, so 3D breathing again. Hands here. I'm going to inhale, expand this way. We want to expand this way, and then into the back. All right, and there's going to be multiple positions that we do this, but primarily we want to be on the ground with our feet on the ground and our spine is aligned and our rib cage and pelvis is aligned. Okay. So again, this is a great position to do that. You can also have your legs up on the wall, another good position, and we're going to practice that breathing. Okay? So, let's talk about the RBT band. Usually, I'm going to use a purple or black band. You don't want to use the little red band. Especially hamstrings and calves, just seem a little, they're not firm or strong enough. I have an extra big band. This is the green one, so I'm just going to demonstrate with that. Okay, so calf, there's a couple of ways to go about it. I'll show you the first way. I usually use some type of prop. I'm either going to use my foot to put underneath my calf to create space from the floor, or something like this, which is a yoga block. Okay, I'm going to turn this down a little bit because I'm going to be mostly on the floor. Hold on, right about there. That looks good. Okay, so yoga block. I generally want to sit up against something because that teaches me and it gives me feedback to sit up straight. Okay, got my pelvis up against the wall, and I'm just going to place the block right under my foot. Now that gives my heel room to move. Okay, the alternative would be just putting your foot there, and that props your foot up as well. But anyway, so yoga block, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the band, put it right around the ball of the foot, or maybe just slightly below it, and then double wrap. Get it nice and tight. That way I know that it's not going to slip and fly off. And from here, I'm going to get really nice and tall. I'm going to pull. My knee is not locked, it's soft. I'm going to pull in or dorsiflex my foot using the band, pulling it in, and even right there I get a big stretch. Okay. If I want to intensify, because I'm going to start incorporating the posterior line as well, I just stay tall and lean into it. Okay. So this is a static stretch. You can hold for 30 seconds or whatever. Then you can also do a dynamic stretch where we're going to go through range of motion while we do it. Nothing wrong with this. This is a good thing to do. Press into the gas pedal. Notice my hand isn't moving back and forth. I'm pressing through the tension of the band and then letting the band pull me back into a stretched position. Okay, so it's not moving this way with the hand. You're just pulling it, setting it, holding this position, and then I'm going to press through, let it pull me back. Press through, let it pull me back. Okay? So that's generally speaking just getting the calf. If I want to target other muscles in the lower leg, such as the posterior tibialis or the peroneals, or maybe biased more towards medial calf and soleus, I'm going to put more tension on the outside or the lateral part of my body or leg, so that you can see it evert, so it dorsiflex and everts my foot. And then what you'll feel is a lot of this stretching, and I even feel it going around my ankle bone because there's tendons there that I feel. And again, sit forward, that intensifies the stretch. So you can go static, hold for 30 seconds or more, or you can press through back to a neutral position and let it come back. And remember, I'm just holding the tension, push through the tension, let it come back with control. Okay? Now, if I'm going to do the inversion side, it'll look like this. I'm going to pull, and then my foot does that. And this helps, but again, push back to neutral, and then back to dorsiflexion and inversion. Back to neutral, dorsiflexion, inversion. And what I feel is the calf, but I also start feeling stuff on the lateral portion of my lower leg. Okay? So that's one way of doing it. Next, we're going to move on to the hamstrings. Basically, I'm going to put my foot against the wall. You really want your off leg, the leg that's not being stretched, up against the wall, or something substantial so you can help stabilize your pelvis. So here we are. So I'm going to keep my knee mostly straight so I can establish my range of motion. And right there is where I feel like I'm starting to get a pretty decent stretch. So now I'm going to just bend my knee, locate my elbows on the ground, and then I'm going to push my heel towards the sky. Again, if we just do this and hold, that's a static stretch. Hold for about 30 seconds. If we're going to do a dynamic stretch, and we'll talk about the difference between the two, is when we move. So dynamic. Notice I'm not letting my hip move out of that flexed position. I'm going to lock it into that flexed position. I'm going to drive my heel up by straightening my knee. My arms are locating my position, and I just press through. So that is straight. Then we want to work out to the lateral side. Again, locate, let your arms get on the ground, locate that position. Notice my hands are static, they're not moving. The leg is moving through a range of motion. And then third would be across the midline and working through that way. And this will be the most intense version of that. Okay? So that's hamstring. So the thing about that is you're going to probably, if you're on the tighter side, you're going to feel it in the calf, you're probably going to feel it in the hamstring and feel it in the glute. Sometimes, depending on what muscle group's tighter, you'll feel it more there and less in another area. So just be aware of that, okay? So that's your hamstring. If you really want to multiply and kick this up a notch, I'll show you another version of wrapping the band. And this one I use when we need to address the bottom of the foot or the plantar fascia or the muscles on the bottom of the foot. And then also we're thinking about the whole posterior line in this case. Foot goes in. I'm going to take the bands and overlap them, then wrap them around my heel, and then pull that way. Okay, so if you're not up against the wall, just do this. I'm going to use this as a pillow, and there we go. And again, dynamic. Locate on your rib cage or on the floor, but and this one I feel in the hamstring, but it really kicks up the calf because now we got that toe flexed, the arches flexed, and also ankle dorsiflexion. So that really gets that calf in the bottom of the foot. Okay. All right. We were on the hamstring, so I'm going to go back and focus on the hip a little bit. So while this is wrapped around, it's kind of cool because I can take it and use it to stretch the hip and just move it around in different planes and stretch that hip out. Just be careful of your knee. Okay. Some of us, this may or may not get a big stretch. Anyway, that's the hip stretch, okay? So, let me go make sure I'm following my format here. So calf, hamstrings, I did the hip since we're laying on our back. Here's the quads. So quads, a couple of ways to do it. And simply, first way is just do that right there. Keep our back neutral. Don't want to arch our back, just flatten it out, get tall, and really use your shoulder as a pulley to stretch out your quads. Okay? That's one version. Version 2 is a little bit more intense. You'll need some padding for your feet or your knee, and it looks like this. And then also a couple of things to consider if you have low back issues or sacroiliac joint issues. So pelvis, low back, they're bothering you, or they tend to need to be balanced, then this one, you need to proceed with caution on this one here. So now I got a flexed hip and a bent knee, and that really, I'm trying to tilt my pelvis posterior, protecting my spine, protecting my SI joint, and staying tall at the same time, getting a really big stretch in my quads here. And I'm really not directly on my kneecap, I'm just above it. If you can't do this and get off of your kneecap, then I would go back to the previous version. Okay, so there's your quads. That one's not really a dynamic one. It's more static, and you'll hold for at least 30 seconds. All right, so I'm gonna switch here and go to the upper body. Oops, I gotta adjust it here, sorry. Okay, there we go. All right, so that's the lower body. Now I'm gonna attach this . Okay, I got it attached, and then I'm just putting my hand in, and this is going to be my chest, shoulder, bicep. Hands in, I'm not even holding it. What I am going to do though is I just reached around, put the 2 strands in my palm, and I'm not going to squeeze it. Then I'm going to put a little tension in and just turn like a clock, and there's my stretch. Breathe, make sure that the shoulders not doing this, just I got some traction of the joint, I got pec major, shoulder, bicep, they're all going at the same time. I'm trying to keep neutral back, neutral neck, and breathe. Okay, that one's easy. Back, shoulders, tricep, a little different. I'm going to turn around and face the other way. So basically it looks like this. Stretch across the body. Again, I'm not holding. And I'm just stretching there. Get a nice tall posture. I'll get over here so you can see it. It's kind of going across the body. Okay. So that's your back shoulder tricep. Version 2 of that is where we do this. So I got my right hand in. I'm going to step back with my right leg, and I'm keeping in mind I have tension on this band, and I'm just going to step back with my right leg and lean into it. And that's posterior shoulder, lat, okay? Get a little bit of tricep there as well, okay? And oblique myofascial sling in the front of the body. So what that looks like, I'm going to have to change position real quick. I should have did that prior, but we'll get it here. Okay. So you want the band anchored low for this one. And this is kind of a mashup of the FMS and then this band stretching series. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take the band, get some tension on it. Get it where you can see me better. Okay. Basically what I want is my hand in the band, and it's stretching me. Because of the video, I'm not all the way in the band, but you get the idea here is I'm stretching, and then I want to rotate away from the stretch. Away from the stretch. So that's the front oblique chain. Okay. Hopefully that made sense. Again, the hand in, grab the strands. I'm in a bent knee T position. I'm going to roll away from the stretch. Remember, there should be tension on this band. I'm just trying to fit it on the screen for you. Okay. And then there's one concept I really would like to talk about and review for some of you, or introduce some of you to it, and it's called the reciprocal inhibition. It's a really easy concept to understand. It's one of Sherrington's laws, and it's real simple. Basically, when one muscle contracts, the opposing muscle group lengthens or relaxes. So in the case of the bicep tricep relationship, when the bicep contracts, the tricep is the antagonistic group, it lengthens. Doesn't mean it doesn't have tension, and doesn't mean it doesn't contract either, or it goes totally relaxed, but it lengthens to allow elbow flexion in this case to happen. So when we do the dynamic version of the calf hamstring, we're using that technique called reciprocal inhibition. And then what we're doing there is when we straighten the knee, we're contracting the quad and lengthening the hamstring. When we dorsiflex, and push, we're activating the anterior tibialis, or the front of the leg, and then lengthening the calf and the gastrocs, or the soleus and gastrocs. So that's part of what's happening with this and why it's so effective. So we're doing some reciprocal inhibition there. All right, you guys, hope you find this useful. Try it out, ease into it. These are more intense stretches, so make sure that you ease into it. And it's probably, what I like to do is I'll do maybe 10 to 15 reps per side. And depending on how much mobility I need or how tight I am, I might do a couple of sets of that on each body part that I just described. Don't forget, as you press out, for example, in your stretch, I'm going to exhale. I'm going to inhale as I take some tension off, exhale as I press out, and increase stretch and increase range of motion. So anyway, try that out. My mentor taught me is if you do it every day for a month, you'll see huge improvements in mobility. All right, give it a shot.